Okay, we got our shop. We got a stand. Oh. Not that project. This project. Oh yeah, we got some work to do. I think most people, when they think of sidecars, they think of motorcycles. Maybe the scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. But normally, you don't think about bicycles having a sidecar. But they used to be that way. Oftentimes it was for cargo, but it was still possible to see them being produced clear up to the 1960s. So the story with this sidecar is about 12 years ago. I was visiting a small bike shop in Boise, Idaho that specialized in fixing up older bikes. And I saw a mountain bike with a custom-made sidecar. It was the first one I had ever seen before, at least on a bicycle, and it was definitely one of a kind. The steel frame was bent to match the frame of the bicycle, and it had oak paneling covering the outside of the frame. And I asked them if they had that made. And they introduced me to a retired engineer who loved working with metal and wood. And long story short, we worked out a deal with him to make us a custom-made sidecar for our youngest son who had special needs. And like a lot of families, we'd had pull-behind trailers to haul the kids with, but for our son's situation where he was on oxygen and other needs, we needed to be able to see him while we were riding the bike. And so he set to work making this custom-made sidecar, matching it up to this old Trek mountain bike that was small enough to fit my wife and big enough that I could ride it too. For years, we got a lot of use out of it. And honestly, our older kids probably rode in it more than our son Nate did. But over time, and with a move or two, it began to collect more dust and we did not get as much use out of it. And sadly, 2 years ago, our youngest son passed away due to health complications. So, here it sat for about 2 years collecting dust, and we figured it was high time that this went to another family that could use it. So, the purpose of my project really is to get this thing cleaned up and ready for another family to give this a second life. So sit back and enjoy as we restore this sidecar. I think it's worth mentioning that the gentleman who built this sidecar was quite the engineer. From the thin, square tubing to the custom yoke for the bicycle, this was a lot of work to do. For my simple part today, I'm simply sanding it down, repainting it, refinishing some of the surfaces. But even some of the small details like this sidecar door, he welded little nuts to the back of each bolt so that they would open and close at just the right amount of space. It really is amazing how one craft can bleed into another. And for a guy that liked engineering, he obviously also liked bicycles. I've often wondered if the Wright brothers' success at making airplanes had a lot more to do with their early work as bicycle mechanics. Not that every engineer's mind works the same, but some of the best I've ever met were never satisfied with off-the-shelf parts. They always wanted to tinker and make things work the way they envisioned it in their mind. Perhaps that's what separates the rest of us. Over this whole COVID period, I've been really inspired by channels like Old Shovel, Seth's Bike Hacks, and others that are really taking the time to talk about some of the history of bicycles, what made them work as well as they did, as well as what caused things to change. You know, here we are watching a 40-year-old bicycle that for a lot of people would say this thing's got nothing left in it. But the reality is a clean bicycle that is well maintained can last for a long, long time. And sometimes, with a little bit of engineering and creativity, we can find new purposes for old bikes and bike parts. As I'm working on new videos and growing this channel, that will be a common theme for me. So one final shout out of praise. Even this bicycle rack was custom made by the engineer to fit the bike, as well as to hold the lateral weight of the cart. It uses just 2 points of contact to connect one yoke to the bike rack and the other part directly to the steel frame. Now, I know a lot of you will probably cringe when you see the metal plate being bolted directly to the frame. But keep in mind this is an old steel frame, and there's padding between both metal plates. In total, there's about 15 pounds of pressure between two bolts, pinching the frame between the two parts. Before we give this bike and sidecar away, there's only one thing left to do. It's time for a test ride.
That's how you like it.
That's right. Here we go.